All right, guys, Marcus and James here inside one of our deals.
If you do have any questions about this property, please give us a call. We'd love to show it to you.
Okay, guys, so Marcus, James, tell me about your, first of all, tell me about you. I mean, outside of business, outside of work, like, who are you guys?
Well,
like,
I was born.
But, like, what outside of, like, when you're not here at the office, like, what do you guys do for fun? Like, what are your passions, your pleasures outside of business?
Well, I just started playing golf like 2 months ago.
And how's that going?
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
So I can say that I own a set of golf clubs. I don't really play golf. I go swing at the ball, miss a lot.
Try to get it to go straight.
So you're gonna go pro, I take it?
No. There's no aspirations of going pro.
James?
We've been golfing together. We've been going out of town to go golfing. I like traveling and spending time with my kids and trying to.
I've been thinking about that, dude. That is kind of funny. So we're like, okay, we're gonna get serious about this, and we played a handful of times. We're like road trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Went to Vegas and played. Dude, I bet we looked
3
like
days
a bunch of clowns out there.
Still the excuse is to travel, like, hit a ball around. Sounds great.
And we didn't even drink out there.
No water. We pounded water is all we did. It was 110 degrees.
I mean, if you were drinking all day, by the end of it, if you were like out there for a few hours, I'd be like, I can't even hit it anymore. It's done. All right. So, what was the origin story of your guys' business? Like, how did this all come together?
Yeah. So it really, I had known James for a long time, and bought several deals from him over the years. And we had talked over the phone several times, and just really realized he was a straight up guy, hustler, out there making it happen every day. Like, actually, his backstory is incredible too. How he came up and how he got involved in real estate. It's a pretty cool story. We'll have to talk about that sometime. And I was at the point where I was just looking to expand my business and bring on new partners, because that's what this whole thing is about, is finding people that you can work with. Bringing on business owner or partners that really complement your weaknesses. So I do have some strengths, but I've got a lot of weaknesses too, and I think James and I complement each other.
It's like a marriage of sorts, huh?
It is. We're kind of like an old married couple. We'll just leave that one alone.
But what was like the moment you're like, okay, I want to get into working with properties, real estate, that sort of thing.
Okay, you're going like
the
Porter James.
Yeah.
Okay. So I had grown up in construction my whole life, man. I had framed houses in my younger years. I was in lawn care, did mowing and landscaping for a number of years, and then I got into masonry. So I was a bricklayer, then I became a union bricklayer and did a lot of stonework and tile and granite, and I did that for almost 10 years. And at that time, I was starting to have a young family, had kids and a wife to take care of, and like in the construction business, it's feast or famine, and you're either killing it or you're starving, and that's a really hard environment to raise a family in. And I also realized too, man, I had two daughters at the time. I'm like, man, I've got 2 weddings to pay for. Now I've got 3 daughters, and started just calculating costs of education and living and what I wanted to do with my life, and realized that I had to do something different. I wasn't going to be able to do the things I wanted to do, take care of my family like I wanted to with my current income. So I started researching, and I started reading books, and I started going to events, and started really what I was doing, not realizing it at the time, was changing my mindset. At that time, I had this 9-to-5 mentality. I got up every day, I went to work many times, 7 days a week, which I guess I still do, kind of, but that kind of gets ingrained in you.
Bad habits. Or
Yeah.
good habits.
Yeah, habits. And really just started educating myself and changing the type of people that I hung out with, which really propelled me in a different direction. And I started realizing the environment that I was in the construction field was very negative, and very hard to get out of that mindset. One of the first books that I read was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Yeah, which is a great read too. It's very easy to read. There's no meat and potatoes in that. It's not a how-to book.
Was that a plug there?
No, it's not really. It's a good book if you're a beginning entrepreneur and you want to change your mindset. It's a great book to read because what it is, it's a here's the possibilities and here's a different way of looking at things, which is what I needed then. I needed to change the way that I looked at things. And $50,000 back then that was a year's worth of salary. I think about that. That's mind blowing to me now that I would give up so much of my time for $50K a year. And it got it into I bought an educational package that taught me how to buy and sell houses because I knew nothing about it then, and really just started working my ass off then. One of the first things that they did was they taught me how to wholesale, and that's still a very active part of our business. James and I have a company together, and we do a lot of wholesale deals every month. That helps pay for marketing and helps pay for employees and helps keep the wheels greased and helps us grow our business. And that was really my strategy at the beginning was, okay, I'm going to wholesale. So I started putting out bandit signs, and I started marketing, and I started talking to people.
Tell me more about wholesaling. I don't know if a lot of people would really understand that. They think real estate. I think they just think
Real-
buying houses.
They think realtor.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
Yeah. So I'm not a real estate agent. I am an investor.
Right.
And I won't go into my whole opinion on real estate.
Not yet. I'll get it out of you real time.
realtors. But I am very biased. Yeah, so wholesale, it's a really neat concept. And I can remember the first time somebody had explained it to me, man, it didn't sink in. I'm like, okay, so you can make money by selling a house that you don't own. And okay, so that didn't compute with me at the time. And really, I didn't fully understand it until I did my first one. I can remember my first assignment fee that I received from doing a wholesale deal was $2,400, which was like, wow, it actually works. That's crazy. Let's go do this again. But it's a very simple concept. You have a seller who wants to sell a property, and they call you off of one of your marketing pieces. You negotiate the deal. Let's say it's $30,000, and you get that property under contract. And that contract is the real power of real estate. Getting that contract is everything because that gives you the power to buy the deal, to assign the deal, to do a lease option on the deal. It gives you everything. And so I know James likes to buy houses in that area, that I got this property under contract, and I called James up, say, James, I got a deal for you. Here are the numbers on it. I'll sell it to you for $35,000. James looks at the deal. He says, absolutely. I'll give you $35K. So James brings the $35,000 to the title company. I get the $5,000, he gets the house, and the seller gets the $30K.
James, what really kind of got you into working in real estate?
The thing for me was just, I've always wanted to work on my own. I didn't do well with having bosses and, having to be somewhere on certain days, or
Sure.
if I wanted to take the day off, I had to get the okay.
You
Or
like the freedom of it.
Yeah, I didn't like that. So I was either quitting jobs or just, I don't think I got fired too many times, but I think it was more just me getting bored or, make yourself look busy. I didn't really like that. I'd just rather go home.
Right.
So, I was always trying to find the things that I could do that would, I'd be able to do on my own. And, so I've tried a bunch of different things and came across, my new thing was going to be cleaning out foreclosures. So, I would just be on the phone for hours a day while I was doing my other job, driving around. And, I would just call people on Craigslist, and I'd bump into Marcus or a couple other people, and I found somebody. And so my thing was going to be that I was going to, do anything with houses. So, if they didn't, I would always ask them if they did the work themselves or if they outsourced the work. If they did it themselves, I would, try to do stuff for them, whether that was painting or, cleaning the house out or doing lawn care or whatever. And I just started running into more and more investors, and they would own one or two houses, and then I was find someone that owned 5 or 10 or 15, and it just kept getting bigger. And I started doing more work for them. But then the thing for me I was looking at what I was doing versus what they were doing and the income that they were making. And I bumped into one of my first partners and someone who kind of taught me most of the stuff I know. And so I started taking pictures for him. And just being the person I am, I was just asking lots of questions. What are you doing with the house? Or how does this work or that work? Or what if I brought you more deals? And so I went from taking pictures for him to finding him deals and getting a piece of the pie, and just kind of working my way up from there. And slowly started. Well, eventually we got to 50-50, and then I just kind of branched off and started doing my own thing, and been doing deals since. And that was 7 or 8 years ago now. So.
There is no resume you guys put in to like start this thing up. It's like
I just
you're
fell
gonna do
into
this.
it.
You're gonna do it, and like I think most people don't. They have a hard time leaving that safety of I got the job, and there's somebody above me who's gonna there's an organizational system like. I think it takes a bit of courage and a bit maybe just being a little bit crazy to be like, no, we're driving this hard. Put our chips on the table, like.
See, that's a complete mindset too.
Mm-hmm.
So people feel like it's a safety net to have that 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm at the point now where I feel like that's probably the worst position for people to be in.
I agree.
Because that company is not going to take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck with hoping your retirement's going to be there. Good luck hoping Social Security is going to be there. There's a point where, like in today's economy, in today's society, you have to take care of yourself. And the best thing that you can do to do that is start buying assets. That's the biggest difference between rich people and poor people. Mm-hmm. Rich people buy assets, right? Poor people like to buy cars and TVs and spend all of their money because they don't understand the principles and how money works.
They know how to make it, but don't know how to save it or how to make that money make more money for them.
That's really our main goal, is to help people build portfolios, help them build wealth, and then help them manage that for the long term.
So more of like an educational side of the...
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. That's what got me started into the whole thing, was educating myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's the thing about this industry is you never stop learning.
Mm-hmm.
So we're James and I are out there every day grinding it, hustling, making it happen, and like I come across new scenarios weekly. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. I've never seen that before. How am I going to handle this problem?
Was that really kind of it seems like that's another thing that stimulates you guys is the constant challenges and changes. There's never some sort of just, it's the same thing Monday through Friday
never
every
the
week,
same.
working that same task.
Yeah.
Some of the basics are the same, but it's always something new and different and challenging and
exciting.
I've been working with you guys for about 2 weeks now, and what really I don't think a lot of people know is like the stories that you guys, like the people you deal with and what comes out of that. Like, tell me a little bit about like some of your favorite stories about the clients you've worked with, the properties you've worked with, kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly of it all.
Okay. I've got a good one about a house. This is
I'd
one
like
of
to hear it.
This is one of the first houses that I did.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, let me think about this for a second. So I bought the property, went through the whole deal, had the contractors out, and it was about 95% complete.
Mm-hmm.
And it had a crawl space, and they were finishing up some of the plumbing in the basement. And the contractor gave me a call, and he goes, "Hey Marcus, there's bones in the basement here." And I'm like, "Yeah, so what? I mean, so there's bones." He's no like, "Dude, these are like large, like human bones." And I'm like, "Oh crap, you didn't just say that."
You found the Zodiac killer.
Yeah, no kidding. So I'm like, at that point, I'm like, okay, so I've got all this money invested in this deal. It's about done. Like, okay, that's kind of a judgment call. Do we finish the plumbing up and screw the hatch to the crawl space down and forget about it? And, I couldn't do that with a clear conscience. So I'm like, okay, well, we better call. If you really think it is human remains, probably should figure out what's going on. So we call the police. He's like, "Yeah, dude, I think it is." So we called the cops. The cops came and, had the whole crime scene tape up and everything. There's cops crawling all over the house. And I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, oh, what happens if it is? So I asked one of the police officers, I go, "Dude, what if this is?" He goes, "Yeah, we're probably just going to have to tear out the entire kitchen and bathroom and basically destroy this house that I had just rehabbed." Mm-hmm. And so I'm freaking out at that point. So we literally had to wait there for like 4 hours. It was me, it was Kara, my contractor was there, all these officers waiting for these results to come back. And finally, 4 hours later, they came back and were like, "Yeah, it's just pig bones." So it's like, whoo! And the officer's like, "Yep, you're good to go, man, no problem."
But that was a little bit touch and go there for
That's
a
all
while.
it was, man. First house. So
Yeah.
I've got a couple good stories. Like the first few deals I did were, I really had some unique problems that I've never heard anybody else have, and they haven't happened since.
Do tell.
So the very first house that I did was a flip, and it was a 4-2, great area. really neat house. And of course, I was doing all the work myself then, right? So I would do my 9 to 5 job, and then after I'd go, and Karen and I would work till like 1 or 2 in the morning with the kids there, and it was, I was doing everything wrong, but I was moving forward and I was doing deals. And I can remember we did the whole thing, and the realtor friend of mine who came and listed it for us, after we completed the project, came over and was evaluating it and literally tore everything about the house apart. Every room, he's like, oh, this is terrible. Oh, buyers aren't gonna like this. Oh, this is awful. To the point where when he was done and leaving, Karen and I were like, we're never gonna sell this piece of crap. We've made a horrible investment, and like, what are we gonna do? So we're like, well, we're gonna go ahead and list it, just see what happens. But we had an offer on the property within 24 hours, full price, and sold it like 30 days later.
It's quite flip.
Yeah. So what it was, I had this realtor friend that I had known for a long time, and he was a straight up realtor, nice guy, and actually very knowledgeable of the market. But he wasn't necessarily an investor, and he didn't understand the investment side, and he didn't understand that neighborhood. Like there's all these things that he didn't know, even though he was a professional, that really could have messed me up. If I would have listened to him, I probably would have spent another $15,000 to $20,000 on the house when I didn't need to. Now there were some additional items that we did for the seller, but it was very minimal. Cosmetic stuff that
Right.
they wanted it. Hey, this isn't pretty. Let's do this.
Exactly.
And I ended up selling the deal and made a ton of money on it.
And that doesn't mean that you didn't put the money was there for like to make the house functional, a livable house. I mean, it was just the things you didn't need.
Absolutely. Yep. There is a fine line there on rehabs. You can put way too much money in. You can not put enough money in. But it just so happens we had fixed it up to what we thought was good, and the market said, "Yep, absolutely, that one's good to go." So,
James, can you beat that?
I don't really have any crazy weird stories or anything like that. I mean, just getting into it was just changed my perspective of how people are in general. Not in a bad way, but it's like there's so many different. People live so differently.
Right.
Well,
it's so intimate. Like you're going into people's houses. And
Yeah.
This is
I mean, some of the stuff was more surprising to me than anything. Just like some houses you'll go in and it's just like you got babies running around, and you open a door and cockroaches run everywhere, and you can't believe that people are living a certain way. Like that's the biggest thing for me. I mean, I haven't had anything, that's crazy, or just finding out that there's a squatter in the house, and you can tell there's a closet that they keep all their stuff in, and but I've never seen anybody in a house.
How do you deal with the squatters? Like,
I've never seen one.
Okay.
I mean, I see.
I've never seen one. That's like we're Skype hunting.
yeah,
I mean,
Nobody's actually seen one.
but they're there.
yeah. It's like
So I've had to go in a couple houses, not a couple, several houses that have squatters in, and it's been my experience most of the time they leave because they know that they're not supposed to be there. So when you go in, it's like you kind of establish this, I'm the authority, you guys need to leave. The worst one I did was walked into a property that I thought was vacant. 2 guys were living in there, even though they weren't supposed to be. And I realized, dude, if they wanted to jack me up or beat me up, I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. But fortunately, you have to be very demanding and come across as confident.
yeah.
And the guys left, and it wasn't that big of a deal. But I was nervous there for a minute.
I mean, a lot of people want to get into real estate, but what is it that really sets you guys apart from everyone else? Like, what is the thing you think you guys offer or understand that other people do not?
As far as our businesses, what we offer, I think that we have a very unique package. We offer everything. So we're not just a wholesale company. We don't want to just sell you a house and then make our money and forget about you. We are about building long-term relationships with people. So we do everything in-house. We can handle the acquisition side for you if you want to buy deals. We have pre-rehab deals. What that means, it's a property that just needs to be fixed up. Typically, you can get a little bit better deal because you have to go through the rehab process. You have to wait for the tenant to get placed. And so we do offer a higher cash-on-cash return on those deals. We also have turnkey deals. And a turnkey deal is simply a property that has been fixed up. We've already placed the tenant. You can come buy it and just start collecting checks immediately. So you have that instant gratification of cash flow. And since we do put a lot of time, a lot of effort into those deals, you know, so they both have their pros and cons. It really depends on how you want to build your portfolio. So we do acquisition. We also do in-house construction. I have 7 full-time crews right now that work on all of our rehabs. And it's to me, that's a very important part, because on the construction side can make or break a deal. I have bought killer deals that were, I would have made so much money, but then I had a bad contractor that raked me over the coals, or didn't spend my money properly, or stole my money. I've had that happen a couple times. And like those good deals go downhill real quick. So it's huge. So having control of that will help tremendously.
How do you assess, like, is there like a feeling that you get, or there's something you know now to not get screwed over by a contractor?
Yeah, oh yeah, we've changed our whole process. So there's a vetting process that I go through. What I do is if I want to hire somebody new, I will give them small projects. And seeing, you know, how quickly they get them done, and really, like, the most important thing is communication. How well do they communicate with me? How close to the budget do they stay? You know, how many add-ons do they come with? Or how many add-ons are there on the project? So once we go through like a 3-month period of doing those small deals, then I'll give them one rehab.
What's like some bad signs that you'll see where you're like, ah, this is going the wrong way? with this guy?
Communication breakdown is always the worst sign.
Like,
So something's not. I feel like a project should be farther along than it is, and I call them and I can't get a hold of them, and they start disappearing, and I go to the property and there's nobody there working. Huge red flags.
Okay.
So at that point, I've actually fired people. Like, no, you're done. And another key too is you always want to owe the contractor money.
Yeah.
You never want to be it where
It's an even break.
yeah, an even break, because you'll get screwed every time.
Why?
Because they can walk at any time and still have money in your pocket,
Okay.
in their pocket.
Okay.
So little tricks that we've learned the hard way.
I think even
over
just
the
a
years.
broke contractor is not good. Cause,
That's true.
You know, then they're asking you for gas money, or they're wanting to get paid, you know, prior
Yeah.
to and stuff like
Huge
that.
red
You know,
flag.
Hold on. How this happens?
So
That
the
happens all the
guys that I
time.
use right now, they actually go start the project, and I don't fund anything in for the first week. And they will call me and say, "Hey, Marcus, you know, I need a draw." Okay, fine. We will go to the property. We'll verify that they've actually been there and they've got to the point where they can get a draw. And I will be like, "Okay, yeah, that's fine." And typically, I'll give them just enough money to pay their guys for that week or that 2 weeks, and that way, I still owe them money. You have to stay ahead of them that way.
Okay. What does Kansas City mean to you? Like, what's the market like here, and what do you think it's something special is happening here, or?
I think there's a lot of
there's a
unique
lot,
things
yeah.
that are happening here. Kansas City is a up and coming area. So much so that there are huge corporations that are coming here. So Google came here a couple years ago, and it is establishing Google Fiber. It's actually, Kansas City is becoming a little tech
Yeah.
hub, like a startup hub, tech hub. There's
a lot of headquarters are here.
yeah.
We've got Garmin and Cerner and Sprint.
Hallmark.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
Hallmark.
There's a ton of them.
Yeah.
That are here. So, yeah, as far as the market goes, what we're seeing across the board, and these are properties that are areas that we try to buy in, exactly where all the redevelopment is going, is overall rents are going up. So as tenants, you know, their families will grow, or they'll have a job change and they move out of our properties, we'll get them fixed up and we'll mark them up anywhere from $25 to $75. And still being able to get it rented, you know, in a very reasonable amount of time. So, yeah, the market is really hot right now.
Yeah, there's not a lot of rentals available either. I mean, they're going very
They go
fast.
quick, yep.
Yeah.
Is there still the ratio of more people renting, or are people still buying as well?
That's a neighborhood
Yeah.
That's a neighborhood
question.
thing? Okay.
Yeah. We do try to buy in neighborhoods that is more owner occupied, but there are areas that we do love to buy in that is a rental market. And if it really depends on the investor. Some investors love that, hey, I want to buy an owner occupied because, you know, people are going to take better care of their property, you're going to see better appreciation. Yes, we have those deals. You're going to pay a little bit more for them because they are in those areas. So it really depends on their investing strategy. But the cool thing about Kansas City, it doesn't really matter what you're looking for. We can build properties and portfolios to really fit your needs.
Right, so the whole spectrum.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, thanks guys for sitting down and talking to me and answering some questions.
Absolutely, man.
I appreciate it.
Wrap.